Welcome back, friends. Welcome back to Solutions Watch. I'm your host, James Corbett of CorbettReport.com. It is April of 2023, and as you might know, here on Solutions Watch, we are examining, week after week, ways that you can improve your life and help change the world for the better. And for this edition of the D program, I'd ask you to cast your mind back a couple of months, where I was talking about building communities, and you might recall in that episode, I did leave it at the point where I said, well, there are lots of different ways of starting to find the people with whom, hopefully, you are out there starting to grow your community organizations and finding your networks of support. But I've talked about it before. We'll talk about it again. Specifically, I did talk about this subject back in August of 2021, how to meet like-minded people. So you might want to refresh your memory with regard to that edition of Solutions Watch, or watch it for the first time in order to find some of the ideas that were at least floating around there in August of 2021. I will start today's edition of Solutions Watch with the caveat that obviously, are you expecting James Corbett sitting here in Japan to tell you, wherever you are in the planet, how to meet people in your area? That it doesn't seem that likely. But at any rate, there are sort of ideas, general ideas that are out there that can be copied, adapted, or adopted for your own particular situation. And perhaps there are some networks and organizations and websites and ideas out there that, hey, why not take a look and see if they work for you? And there are many, many, many ideas out there. I think the important point of this, to put the emphasis on the right syllable, is that this presumably is about making contact with real human beings in the real world. It's great to have online community and to be able to talk to people with whom you can relate and understand, and you can express your ideas and talk about ideas online. There's nothing wrong with that per se, but if that is the goal, that seems to again be putting the emphasis in the wrong place. This is presumably about actually meeting real people in the real world, but here we are in the online media space, interacting here telephonically, televisually, virtually. So it's the old catch-22 of how do you tell people about things in the real world when you're online. At any rate, I can gesture in various directions and we can go from there. More to the point, this is, of course, not the James Corbett program. This is the everybody out there participation D program called Solutions Watch, where it's whatever you make of this. And I'm just going to throw out a bunch of ideas that have been put out there, and I'm not endorsing them as usual, as you know from the remit of Solutions Watch. Going back to the very first episode, we're throwing ideas out there. You will find the ones that work for your own situation and or adapt or adopt these ideas to your own situation, or decide that none of them work for you and you can move right along. That is perfectly fine. So let's start this exploration by checking the comments of Building Community, the Building Communities episode of Solutions Watch, because there were quite a few interesting ideas and suggestions in that comment section. I would suggest people go to CorbettReport.com and find that episode. It will be in the show notes of today's episode, and you can start perusing and browsing that at your own leisure. But let's look at a few of the comments that I thought were interesting. For example, Lotus Blossom joined in on that conversation by saying, a site that might help to some degree, at least with experience in gardening before you try it yourself, having a teacher is always a good idea, is Worldwide Opportunities on Organic Farms. Some use permaculture because the site is dedicated to sustainable practices as a whole, but organic is the main theme. There are a few eco-villages, too. I stayed at Sustainable Kashi in Florida for 3 weeks. Even if you don't agree with all their philosophies, you can still learn about their way of living. And Lotus Blossom provides the website WWOOF, that's Worldwide Opportunities on Organic Farms.net. So again, that link will be in the show notes in case you need it. It's there in that comment. And then Gavin M. joins in on that thread with numerous links about woofing, as I believe it may or may not be pronounced, in Canada and the US. I believe there are opportunities elsewhere in the world as well, but there are, of course, in North America, there are plenty of opportunities with regard to that, if that is something that you're interested in. Brady Seed chips in. We are trying to build a community on Callin. This idea won't fly without a team. And then he provides a Substack link talking about this idea. He says, please join us on Callin. It's a free social podcasting app. Host rooms. Anyway, there's a link there if you're interested in following up on that. Heavenly NC chipped in. I learned in the recent Peak Prosperity webinar of a group that is building a resiliency ranch in Arizona with plans to do more around the country. This is a budding concept/endeavor, but sounds interesting on multiple levels. They explain it in this Lynette Zhang interview, and then unfortunately there's a link to GooTube. Well, plug your nose and cover your assets, as it were, and head on over there if you're interested, or their website, campfireproperties.com. Along with building a small, self-reliant community, they plan to offer homesteading courses. The community isn't necessarily a buy-in. It can also be a campsite or rental, or if it comes to it, a bug-out. I thought it was worth exploring. All right, thank you for that feedback. There's Carrie W., who shared personal experience about trying to muster community participation in Carrie W.'s area, and then Carrie W. writes, in 2020, I began a personal letter writing campaign to reach out to our neighbors and get to know those willing to be known. I shared how I did that here, plus personal advice in building community, and there's a link to carrieweigel.com. Freedomcells.org yielded one great local relationship in 2021 that opened the doors to 2 new local relationships of like-minded people the same year. PrepperNet.net led us to a great regional relationship in 2022, which has opened doors to additional beneficial regional relationships. All right. Sounds good. Lots of links and ideas there to follow up on if you're interested. Michelle writes in a letter, James, an email, I should say. James, since 2002, I've been striving to create what I term to be natural healing communities here in the U.S. and abroad. My former husband and I started in Jacksonville, Florida, with the founding of Sankofa's Learning Center, a 501c3 nonprofit. We went from a meeting where just one person showed up to over 40 member families in the course of just 2 years. Our community included a sister circle, homeschool co-op, food co-op, elder care co-op, and much more. The reality was that our personal family budget underwrote the majority of the activities. In 2004, my husband left his position as a naval chaplain and the security of a dependable source of income. Subsequently, we moved to Georgia and created a for-profit healing sanctuary with the hopes of being able to fund community programs. In 2008, I co-founded our current nonprofit, It Takes a Village Ministry. itavministry.org. Over and over again, I've struggled to find people of like mind who are willing to take action. I even sold my home and went on the road with the Hope and Healing Tour in an effort to find these people. A little over a year ago, I purchased 5 acres to use as ground zero to building a network of eco-villages. Maybe you want to avoid the term ground zero, but I get you. Our on-site community center is home to thousands of books, videos, and other resources on health, spirituality, history, parenting, and more. Additionally, we have goats, chickens, geese. We also have plans to create mini homes and create ample gardens to feed the contributing members. All right. Lots of information there, and there's the link that you can follow if you want more information from Michelle. So thank you for injecting that. Also, a recent comment on the site, no one is coming to save us. We must do it ourselves. The political party system has hijacked democracy. Ruled by money, it serves the tyranny of wealth rather than the well-being of the public. Direct democracy, beginning at the local level, is the only thing that will restore our natural rights and freedoms. Just launched a safe, anonymous search tool to connect neighbors and initiate local resistance. Check it out. Spread the word. Thank you, localresistance.org. All right, lots and lots of ideas there, lots of links. Once again, I'm not putting the James Corbett stamp of approval guarantee on any of these. As always, there's lots of things out there, some of which will work for you, some of which won't, some of which might resonate, some of which probably won't. At any rate, I know that you are capable, independent human beings who can figure this out for yourself. But let's throw more ideas out there because there are plenty more to follow up on. And speaking of following up, let's follow up on one idea for meeting like-minded people that came from that How to Meet Like-Minded People edition of Solutions Watch from 2021, where you might recall I talked about Unjected, which started out as an app, specifically an app for connecting unvaccinated people. It was essentially, I believe, first marketed as a sort of dating opportunity for unvaccinated people to meet and potentially fall in love. But there's many other aspects to what Unjected was about, connecting people in various ways, business relationships and otherwise. Well, since that time in 2021, there's been a number of developments with regards to Unjected, which again is an online way that potentially could lead to actual real-world relationships of various sorts, and even some health related relationships, blood donations, and other such things. What on earth is going on with Unjected these days? Well, back in 2021, I talked to Shelby Thompson, one of the founders of Unjected, about what was then the app and how, what it did and how people could use it. Well, I recently had the chance to talk to Shelby about the latest developments of Unjected, so I started by getting her to remind us about what Unjected is and what it was created to do.
So I believe maybe when we caught up, we might have actually still been an app or just removed from the Apple Store. But Unjected is a platform for people who believe in medical freedom, COVID-19 unvaccinated adults who are looking for dating or friendship. We have censor-free social feeds, and most importantly, one of our more newer features has been blood match and fertility directories as well. But due to censorship, we have kind of been playing chess with our big tech giants and the establishment. And so we've actually just gone completely web-based. And so now the platform for people who may have known us as an app is no longer an app, and it's just going to be on unjected.com.
Awesome. All right. Tell us about those updates then. Tell us what are some of the newest functionalities and what people can do with the website.
Yeah. So if you were on the original app, you'll remember it was our beginner system, as we were growing. So now on the new system, we have, a high functioning messaging system, as well as, with our social feed. It's a lot like Instagram and, dare I say Facebook, where you can actually go and communicate with, your like-minded friends. You can go and post. You're not going to feel like you're being limited or censored like you do on other social media platforms. We don't have those taglines at the bottom of posts, being fact-checked. And more recently, we've been wanting to add some new groups features as well. So you're going to actually be able to do some group chattings within the social feed, and as well as messaging in our connections feature. So we're going to have all kinds of new features coming up soon. But we're definitely trying to keep it multifaceted. So it doesn't matter if it's for dating or for friendship, but everybody is welcome here. And you deserve to find your people no matter what.
Awesome. That is a message that will resonate with people. But unfortunately, of course, it's a message that ruffles the feathers of some people who dislike the idea of people being unvaccinated, let alone trying to meet other unvaccinated people. And obviously that has drawn ire and attention. And of course, as people might have seen last June, the Daily Dot had an expose of Unjected talking about a user data breach that they were finding out about. Tell us what happened there and what came of it.
For sure. Well, it was actually, it was a kid who referred himself to as Anthony Fauci. So you can assume, he had a certain intent in place here. And of course, the internet being the way it is, there's a lot of really intelligent, hackers and people in general. But what was our specific issue is what had happened is we had just launched our website less than a week and a half earlier. And so we were in the process of, we had a demo server and a live server, and we would do updates back and forth pretty much consistently within, our 24-hour period. It would happen so often that we had kind of both of these servers open for us to use simultaneously. And he actually just went out of his way to get into our demo server. And it was, it's funny, the story for the Daily Dot is really actually mostly legitimate lies, because he claims that he was able to change, credit card information and all kinds of this stuff. And we actually never even had this implemented. They go on to talk about home addresses, which is something we've never asked for in our platform, as well as, birthdays and stuff like, personal information we've never acquired as data. But, this gentleman decided that it would make a fun story to say that. So, but by the time time the story was even released, we had closed, both of them down from our edit mode. So, this gentleman was not looking at anything. Um, but, of course, mainstream media being what it was, they really had a fun time with it. But, it got us some exposure on Jimmy Fallon. And actually that day alone, we had just a soar of, members. And that was, so long ago. It seems like everyone says, well, we know the internet is a wild place, but, we've definitely gone out of our way to make it as secure as we possibly can. But, I always tell people if it makes you feel more comfortable, you can always use, a pseudo name or, a profile picture that's maybe not, maybe it's your dog or something you like to eat, but there's always ways you can circumnavigate that as well.
And just okay, so just to be clear on that note, what information do you and do you not require to use the site? Do you need people's birthdays and home addresses and all of that?
I mean, so what the algorithm does is, technically it uses these fields to curate your experience, so it says, if I go in there and I say I'm 28, I put my birthday in just so the algorithm is, finding me that appropriate match. But it's not for us on Injected, it's not a mandatory thing for you to use the correct information. You could use anything you wanted to, and we don't mind as long as it's a birthday over 18. You're welcome. And so a lot of people I've noticed maybe they'll just use a different birthday, or they'll use a profile picture that's like a cartoon of them. People are all open to do whatever they like, but these things aren't mandatory. We don't ask for phone numbers either. So basically, when you sign up for the solution, you just provide an email address.
Awesome. And I hope people do. If it's kind of the catch-22. You want to connect with people and you want to become part of a community. You want to find other people, but you also want to protect your privacy. So I guess there are things to negotiate there. But once again, tell people about the website, how they can sign up, and what they can expect once they sign up. What's the process like?
Yeah. So when you go to unjected.com and you go through the sign up process, we'll just, of course, gather that little bit of information to curate your, experience as far as like what you're looking for. So you can set your profile option for dating, friendships, community. And then actually over the course of time, we've received a lot of people reaching out that said I was vaccinated and I extremely regret my decision, and is there a place for me? And of course it's not us to decide whether someone wants a vaccinated partner or not. Medical freedom is above all in this decision. And so we did include a category called Vax Afflicted. So if you were vaccinated and you are feeling regretful of that, you are welcome as well. And then of course you could choose your profile for any. And so then basically when you get into the website, you can go to our connections feature, which is where you'll search members anywhere in the United States, or are actually up to 85 different countries we have members in. And so you can filter based on interest or star sign, profession, anything that would be of interest to you. You can pick and choose. And then if you were to move on, we also have a listings category, which is going to be more for our businesses and our professionals. So if you're more focused on marketing your business, or you have a service to offer our members, you could absolutely go and list in there. I would kind of say it's a little bit like a new age Craigslist for medical freedom. And so you can look for job opportunities or housing as well. There's a multitude of different categories within there. And of course, like I mentioned earlier, our social feed, which is of course where a lot of the action of just general discourse is always going down. And then with our blood match and fertility directories, we've really been, working on the infrastructure as far as making this a reality one day, of being able to offer this to actual people. Where do we get the blood to each other, and how do we, beat the societal issue that we are facing, with surgeons and hospitals and doctors actually allowing, patients to choose their, designated donor. But right now, the system we have in place is our match system, which is a lot like a directory. So you can go in, and so, for example, I would say, I'm Shelby, I'm A negative, I'm in Hawaii, and here's my email or my contact information, or you could message them through the Injected site. And then as well, that's the same for fertility donors, so everything we've seen implications everywhere. The new JAMA study that showed mRNA in breast milk, which is extremely frightening. So we do have those categories for sperm, eggs, breast milk, embryos, and as well as surrogates. So there is literally a little bit of everything for everybody on Injected. So it doesn't matter if you're, young and looking for, a new social scene, or, perhaps you're a grandma and you're looking for a new connection. You're welcome here.
The doors are wide open. All right. Shelby, awesome. It's good to hear the update. How many users have you got these days?
Yeah, absolutely. So we are well over 100,000 in the whole entire world. But since we started over on the app, one unfortunate thing is we were not able to transfer profiles from the app to the new website. So it's kind of like a fresh slate, and we had to start over. But we are, well over 30,000 now since then. So, we're finding all of our old user base, and they're kind of filtering in. And then we usually see about 3,000 plus organic new users finding us every month too. So there's still lots of people, that have just finally discovered us, even though we've been around for a little while now.
Excellent. All right. Is there anything else you'd like to let the viewers know about before we go?
Yeah, we do have a podcast actually that we've been doing, which I would love to invite you on as well. And it's going to be on it is Friday evenings, and we live stream it on rockfin.com/injected. And it's kind of a play on the old radio show Loveline. So we have a toll-free number, and members in the community can actually call in and tell us your wild stories about living in this post-2020 world, whether it's a dating story or, maybe a life story. If you want to get advice, it's me and a couple other of my fellow amazing co-hosts. And so we do that at 9 p.m. on Fridays. That's Eastern time, and it's called The Injected Show. So I welcome everyone. If you want to have a little cathartic moment, and maybe tell us a story about how you were kicked out of Thanksgiving dinner, or try to find a love of your life on our little show. Come on by.
Once again, that was Shelby Thompson of Injected.com. Of course, Injected's website will be linked up in the show notes here if you're interested in checking that out. But that, I think, is actually a great reminder of some of the reasons why we don't want to make all of our contact simply virtual, and why it is always a good idea to salt your data. Yes, you might recall from the previous Solutions Watch episode that I did on salting your data that it is a good idea not to give your full legal name and birth date and address and everything else to any site, even ones that you do trust, for any reason, because of course they can be hacked or there can be problems. I think it is always a good idea to salt your data whenever you are interacting online. And when you are ready to take things offline into the real world with people, then you can start exchanging various information. But maybe a good idea not to put all of those eggs in one basket, but this is part of the problem of trying to find real-life community via virtual spaces. Maybe it makes more sense to find people in real life through real life, and there are many ways of doing that too. Well, let's look at another idea that is coming together and coming to fruition in some form or other that I was informed about recently via an email, and let me just share some of that email with you. It's from Rayo2, the coordinator of the Free Republic of Pasnia, who is a practitioner of Vonu. What? He writes, in short, Vonu is an awkward contraction of the words voluntary, not vulnerable, and the goal of its practitioners is to become as invulnerable to coercion as humanly possible, both from public coercers, government, and private coercers, private violators of person and property. This is done by way of radical lifestyle changes, such as van nomadism, perpetual traveling, financial independence, off-grid homesteading, security culture, minimalist sailboating, etc. Since then, especially around April 2020, my focus expanded more into building a parallel network / parallel society founded upon the principles of truth, voluntarism, and peace. To that end, I declared my independence from the USSA and founded the Free Republic of Pasnia, P.A.Z.Nia, the first free and geographically independent country. The country aspect is mostly dressing for a cooperative and what I call culture jamming, making fun of the idea of countries. But as I said, the idea is a worldwide vetted parallel network. And it's far more than an idea. At current, there are about 150 of the most radical self-liberators in our Telegram chat. We're in the process of putting together the Pasnia map / directory, which will include self-sufficient homesteads, city squat spots for van nomads, guerrilla gardening plots, local health food stores, local farms, and much more. This map will help our van nomads and others to literally create our own logistics and transportation network. A Pasnia General Bitcoin Fund for mutual aid and building the Pasnia network. The Pasnia Seed Exchange, a growing Department of Health and Wellness featuring the AquaCare, a Rife machine, and more. Investigation into breakthrough energy, such as using Brown's gas / hydrogen, a magnetic motor which we had donated, and many other potentialities, and much, much more. There's a lot happening, and I know many folks in your audience would make fantastic additions to this parallel network, and I know I could bring a lot of valuable solutions in general. And Rayo2 was kind enough to provide this short video introduction to the idea of the Pasnia Free Republic.
Howdy, Rayo2, coordinator of the Free Republic of Pasnia here. Thank you, James, and thank you, viewer or listener, for the opportunity to introduce you to the Free Republic and what we've got going on here. To make a really long story short, in 2019 I happened upon this 22-acre homestead about 90 miles east of St. Louis. USSA in southern Illinois. At that time, I really didn't have many plans for it, but quite synchronistically and wildly, things have turned out rather interesting. Flash forward a year or so to about April 2020, when the fake pandemic really kicked off. I bought my first couple of goats and a couple of lambs, getting my feet wet in the realm of food self-sufficiency. The following month, my buddy Jason Henza, who you might have seen on the recent HBO documentary series The Anarchist, visited and decided that I'd try to host a Freedom Festival here. If I could even get anyone to come out, to Southern Illinois, I thought it was, thought it was a long shot. I was rather wasn't super optimistic. I'll put it that way. The entire event was organized privately on Signal and Keybase. And I only invited folks that I'd known for multiple years from Freedom Festivals, primarily the Midwest Peace and Liberty Fest in Michigan. So it was very small set of people. I really wasn't too optimistic about how many people would be coming out. Before long, I declared my 22-acre homestead to be an independent country and began planning the big Rebirth of Freedom ceremony. Around 30 self-liberators made it out for the ceremonial signing, my speech, and really just an amazing inaugural gathering here at Veritas Pasnia, the spectacle that may have been. So what is Pasnia? Pasnia is a geographically independent country, the first free country in existence. The others have a monopoly on the use of force and coercion. Rather, a better way to think of Pasnia is as a worldwide freedom cooperative of sorts, a parallel network. Cooperatives only serve cooperative members. We do the same things as co-ops. We have raw eggs and milk, etc. But this strategy is far more overreaching. So the name and the background and the meaning to Pasnia. So PAZ, the acronym PAZ, is an acronym for Permanent Autonomous Zone. And autonomous zones are pockets of freedom, wherein we can be free. I guess there's a couple distinctions. Temporal, so there's temporary and permanent autonomous zones. And those denote the temporal time span of the zone or the area. So rather than all gathering in one area permanently, we are utilizing decentralization principles and the use of mobility. And legally speaking, Pasnia nodes are spread across many different jurisdictions, state to state in the USSA, and even in Europe, Mexico soon, etc. And the other, meaning for Paz, P-A-Z, is Paz in Spanish means peace. And peace is definitely the life essence here at Pasnia. As you can probably see and feel around me, the serenity and the peace. That's what we're all about. So at this point, I must say, it's nearly impossible to lay out the full vision, the purpose, the possibilities, and eventualities of such a network in a couple-hour podcast, let alone a short video. So please do use the resources below.
All right, with that intriguing introduction, I'm sure there will be some people in the audience who are very eager to learn more, and some people who have seen enough. And both perspectives are perfectly fine and valid. If you are interested in learning more about what Pasnia is, how it is currently functioning, what it plans to do in the future, what has been created, and in what various stages those projects are, you can start exploring pasnia.com. I'll, of course, include the links that has some of the information about this and links to some of the various ventures and how to become a stakeholder, S-T-E-A-K, stakeholder. Ha ha ha. And there's lots of very interesting links about what is being done and the library that's being created and other projects that are being done, especially that map idea. But again, this is a vetted parallel society network, so you have to be vetted before you can join. So there is information on the pasnia.com page about that, and a email address there, coordinator@pasnia.com, if you're looking to get more information about that. But once again, this is just one of many, many, many different ideas that are out there. We've already looked at several of them. Here's a few more, just a couple more that I will throw out. I will note that I did have an entire episode of Solutions Watch on Stand in the Park when it first came about. You might recall that back during that time of the lockdowns and how dare you go outside your home unless it's to exercise, well, people began exercising their natural human right to freedom of expression and freedom of assembly and started standing in parks as a literal way of A, making their nonviolent protest, but B, perhaps more importantly, actually meeting like-minded people and connecting with them. And I know I did hear from people who said, James, why did you never talk about Stand in the Park? I had an entire episode on it. Did you search for it? Anyway, I will note that standinthepark.org is still up right now and has various resources and events and things surrounding it, and so I'd be interested to hear if there are people in the audience who are still involved with that idea. Here's another idea that crossed my radar recently. Libertarian drinks, also known as Third Wednesday. The idea is have a beer, put the world to rights every third Wednesday, and this is specifically UK-based. Actually, there's some Ireland, in Dublin meetup as well. There's a map there on libertariandrinks.com of the various places where there is a pub in your area that is participating in this. And the idea is Libertarian Drinks was started to allow those of us with a natural aversion to big government to meet up and chew the cud. Everyone is welcome. Just don't expect us to be politically correct. Use the map below to find drinks hosted near you, or you can host your own. Get in touch if you want your drinks to be added to the map. And there is, as I say, a map of the UK and Ireland, but actually, if you expand out, there's room for drinks everywhere. So maybe we'll start to see more places appear on that map. At any rate, that's for the people in the audience in that area of the world. But there are a billion such things that are going on that I have no idea about. And of course, I'm not going to be able to itemize them all, let alone deliver your own personal, here's what's happening in your area. But I'm sure, on that note, there are many, many people out there who have many, many other ideas of how to meet like-minded people, organizations through which things are being done, or just ideas on a personal level for meeting other people. I'm sure there are other people in the audience with their arms folded saying, community is for shills and who cares and whatever. All of those expressions and all of those points are valid expressions of different people's points of view on this subject, and I am interested in hearing them. I'm sure other people are. That is what the comment section on CorbettReport.com is for, to continue this exploration of Solutions Watch. As I have stated over and over, Solutions Watch is about throwing ideas out there, seeing what works for you, adopting and adapting things that could work in different circumstances and situations, sharing ideas, and discarding things that don't work. And that, of course, is not something that I can do for you. It's something that we have to do together, or you have to do for yourself, and you can share those ideas. So I do invite Corbett Report members to participate in the comments discussion in this edition of Solutions Watch. I think we're going to leave it there for today. There will be lots and lots of links to the various things that we've talked about and looked at so far today. But there will be many, many more links in the comments, I'm sure, and those will be worth checking out as well as we continue this ongoing exploration of different ideas for finding like-minded people and then building things on top of it. And maybe we want to start talking about the types of things that can be built on top of community after this point. But at any rate, I think that's going to do it for today's edition of Solutions Watch. I am James Corbett of CorbettReport.com, thanking you for joining me and looking forward to talking to you again in the very near future.